Hey guys, welcome back to the Daily Mass Review. We didn't have a video this Sunday because it was a holiday this weekend, so I just spent some time with my family. But we're back on Tuesday, and we're going to talk about something that was inspired by this Sunday's readings. In this episode of James Talks, we're talking about conflict resolution, right? So in the readings on this Sunday, if you remember, there were 3 readings that all centered around how you should best resolve conflict. With other people, especially other Christians who you know who might be your friends who you get along with, but maybe there's something that you want to bring up to them. What is the best way to do it? And there's the approach in the Old Testament where basically you have to say something. If you don't say something when someone's doing something wrong, then you are actually the one who's doing something wrong, something more wrong than what that person is doing. As a Christian, you have a responsibility to speak up and do something about it. In the reading from St. Paul, we heard more of a gentler view of it. It's like just you do whatever you know is right. You do what you know is right, and then in that way, whether you mean to or not, you'll actually bring about the good of other people just by focusing on making sure you're doing what is right. And this kind of combines in what Jesus says, right, about how you resolve conflict. Should first you go to that person as their brother, say, hey, I have this issue with you. We need to talk about it. If that doesn't work, then you bring somebody else. And then if that doesn't work, you bring them before the church, right? And you do this basically to try and show them the error of their ways. And at the end of that, if you can't make them see the error of their ways, then, move on. Move on to something else. Now, I know I see this with my teens a lot. There's this question and this problem where, you're in Catholic schools, but a lot of the students around you aren't Catholic. Or they're Catholic, but they don't behave like Catholics should, right? According to the law that God has given us. And that puts my teens in a very difficult position, right? And I wasn't a teenager too long ago. I remember how this felt as a teenager in high school, where I was doing trying to do the best that I could to try and be a better person, try and be a better Christian. But all around me were these people who were supposed to be Catholics who didn't behave in a Catholic way. And that was very hard for me. Not only did it make it harder for me to be holy around these people, but it also made it even more difficult because I realized that if I don't say anything about the issues I have with the way they're behaving, then I'm doing something even worse, right? Now, of course, I didn't win very many popularity contests in high school, so you can see how that went most of the time. But it is important that you are able to be true to yourself, to be honest about how you really feel about any given situation. And if you're not able to do that, it makes it very hard for you to practice your faith. You need to be able to be honest with what you believe in with the people around you. To try and live a double life, to try and live at one person at school and live like one person at home, live one person in the world, live one person at home, or in the church, right? Sometimes you're 3 people, you're 1 person at home, you're 1 person at school, you're 1 person in the church, and then you're 4 people because you're 1 person on the sports team, right? You're constantly trying to be what everyone around you wants you to be. And then when you come to church, you end up doing the same thing, right? It's very easy for us to get into the habit of thinking like, you know what? I do all the stuff in the world because if I don't, then no one will accept me. But when I'm at church, I'm myself. And what you end up doing is you end up creating the same kind of thing with church, right? The church is not, the way that you are at church is not a true representation of yourself either, because you're continually trying to do things to make people like you. This is a very difficult notion for teenagers to understand, I feel. And I remember how this felt, where you have to be true to yourself in all places. You can't be a different person in different facets of your life, which is tough, especially in facets of your life where it doesn't feel like anybody understands who you are, really, right? When you try to be true to yourself and some people don't understand, that can be really hurtful. Just ask Jesus. The whole Bible, he was trying to get people to understand who he really is. Hey, I'm the Son of God. I'm going to die. Right? And everyone's like, no. You won't die, Jesus. Everything's going to be fine. Sunshine and rainbows. And then the crucifixion happens. So believe me, even God understands how difficult it is. And he's not asking you to do this lightly. You are not preparing yourself for heaven by ignoring this call that God has made to you to go and evangelize all people, right, including yourself. In some way, when you're spreading a message about God that you know is true to someone else, you're also learning that message yourself. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is you need to pray about it. I think this is something that we don't stress enough, especially to teens. Is that when you have a situation and you don't know what to do, it's okay for you to not do something immediately, right? When someone makes a casual joke about porn in your friend circle, you don't have to immediately requip that, right? You can easily excuse yourself, go to the chapel, go do whatever, take a moment for yourself and think, what does God want me to do? How can I approach this? What is the best thing that I can do? And it doesn't have to be complicated, right? It can literally just be like you take a second, you collect your thoughts, and you're like, I don't agree. That could be it, right? And someone makes it, you're like, no, I think that porn like really lowers the value of men and women in society and treats them like objects and doesn't treat them very fairly. And I think it's a very abusive practice, and people shouldn't do it. People shouldn't participate in it or support it in any way. You can say something like that and then just leave it at that, right? And then your friends might go on making more jokes about it, but at least you know that they know where you stand on it. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes that's all it takes for somebody to change their mind. Like, oh, like this guy who's my friend thinks that this is bad. Maybe that should make me rethink, the way that I look at it. Which is very important, because when Jesus was ministering to people, he had much more success with converting the hearts and minds of people that he actually built relationships with than when he went and he stood up on a boombox and just talked about God, because people were not receptive to what he had to hear because they didn't know who he was. Right? That was the whole problem that he ran into, is nobody understands who he really is. But the people who did understand who Jesus really was took that to heart, and then they went out and they converted people, and then those people that they converted people. Right? It starts with that friend of yours who you say to, like, no, I don't think that's funny, right? No, I don't think that's good. No, that I don't think that lifts us up. I don't think that makes us better people. All you really need to do is make that one stand. And I think that there's this fear that if you don't agree with everything they say, or don't like just go in with a joke, people are not gonna like you, not gonna be want to be around you. But in reality, I often found that when I actually stood up for what I believed in, people respected me more. People wanted to be around me more because they realized, hey, like, this guy actually, believes what he preaches. He's this guy, he's this Catholic kid who wants to do the whole Catholic thing, and, he actually does think that it's wrong. I remember I had an encounter like that in high school in my math class where one of my friends was, like, spreading around, like, a password for a free porn account, and I was like, no, I don't want that. He's like, no, why do you want that? I mean, it's free porn. It's like, yeah, but I don't watch porn. I don't think that porn is good. I think that it's actually something really wrong with it. And I don't think you should be passing away free access to that, because you're just helping more people get into something that's bad for them. And then me and that person became good friends after, because he respected me more for standing up for what I believed in, rather than just going along with what the crowd had to say. And I'm not saying that it's easy. But what I am saying is this is something that God calls us to do. And it doesn't matter how young or old you are. God is constantly giving us more opportunities to do this on a daily basis. So, in conclusion, look at what Jesus went through in the gospel. When you need inspiration, when you're in a tough situation, you have to resolve a conflict with someone. Take his approach. Be gentle, be calm, be peaceful. Make your point, right? And then move on. And you know what? If it's God's will for that person to have a change of heart because of that, he will. Right? All you really have to do is that one small thing, and God will take care of the rest. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.